Family, we have giants in our midst, and in this moment, not only do we get to meet them, but we get to give them the credit and the praise they deserve. They are educating, creating, providing resources, doing what they can to make the world better, our world better. This is For the Culture. Hey girl, hey!
Hey girl, hey, I saw myself shaking my butt. You didn't even tell me because I'm watching like, oh, all of this beautiful blackness.
Including all your beautiful blackness.
Why she had to show the one of me shaking my booty?
Because that's the one that hello somebody.
It's true. It's true.
You're gonna do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, goddess.
Hi, baby. I love that lip. That lippy is every.
Thank you. I'm leveling up. I'm trying to be like you. Okay.
It's a paradigm shift, right? To see beautiful black lips in all types of colors.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so grateful for you, and you are my sister from another mister. I adore you in so many different ways, and so let's jump in.
Sure.
Let's jump in, my beautiful Sin. Please let the folks know first and foremost, who are you?
I am your friend. Oh, okay. No, my name is Syntyché Francelle. Owner of Dea Yoga Studios and Wellness Center. That is mobile and international because of COVID. Right? Like, let's just own it, right? Everybody's business is mobile and international.
Hello.
And I am the executive director of the Healing Station New York. And really all my work is about marginalizing the wellness gap and informing people to support their spiritual, physical, and mental health through movement and mindfulness and just doing good shit.
Yes, ma'am. I want to talk about everything, but I can't keep you for 24 hours. So, yeah. Let's start with background. So where were you born and raised?
I was born in Queens, New York. I think it was Queens Center Hospital at the time.
Okay.
Yep. I won't tell you the year, but I was born in Queens, New York. I was raised in Queens. We stayed in Queens until I was in the 6th grade. And then we moved to Elmont. So if you know anything about New York, we lived here and then we moved there. You know what I'm saying? And of course, completely different worlds for reasons that we know how New York is. But and then I did junior high school and high school in Elmont, Long Island.
Okay.
And I feel like both of those were home. It's like literally it was like one half of my childhood and then literally another half, because I was 13 when we left, and then so it was literally interesting.
I like the way you put it. That was beautiful. And where's your family from?
Big ups. Brr, brr, hey, but come on, like everybody already knows, right? My mother and my father are from Jamaica, the beautiful island of Jamaica. My dad is from Kingston, and my mother's a little country girl from Trelawney.
I love it. You are sugar and spice and
everything nice.
Everything. This is gonna be so much fun, especially to really chat about the Black experience, because the reason I always ask about backgrounds is because you never know what you're gonna get, and the Black diaspora, right, is just so diverse. And so we have New Yorker / West Indian, like this
first generation.
Okay. So you gave like a little tidbit of what you do, but tell us more about your companies, and because I got a list of what I want to ask about, but let's start there because you have your hands in a few different places.
Yeah. So the yoga studio has kind of shifted, and my work has kind of shifted from running it as like a yoga studio to really more of like a yoga school. And I say yoga because that's how it's just easier, but it's really about yoga and more largely and broader about movement, right? Especially for those of us that are people of culture, right? As Resma Menakem says, people of culture. Movement is so much a part of our culture, was so much a part of our culture. And so even the sedentary living here that is very American, not only is it not healthy for the human body, it's not an indigenous practice to us on a cellular level. So what I found when I opened Dea was that just the movement and sitting in circle healed people. Mm. And it was simply that. And it was, kind of like the epicenter of the village in many ways. And we weren't there very long because of life and COVID and all that other kind of stuff. But that was the greatest takeaway. So now my work is around creating trainings and workshops and retreats to really create space for young BIPOC persons to learn about movement through the lens of yoga and the ways in which they can heal themselves and heal their body.
You are a breath of fresh air. And I'm grateful because who knows who will see this. But for me to be able to experience, what you do firsthand and to experience you firsthand, you bring truth into the spaces that you occupy. And so how did you get here? You have such a beautiful.
How did you right? Like
yes. This Black girl yogi, counselor, mentor, activist that you are. Like, how did you get here?
Girl, I don't even know. I don't even know. Right. That's what you would be like, bro. Right. I mean, the story would start with, being stressed out in college. That's when I was introduced to yoga, right? My best friend said to me, you should try yoga. I was having a really hard time. My anxiety level was really, really bad. And I did, and I felt better. And then, like when you feel better, you move on with your life and then circle back, almost 20 years later, I'm really stressed. She reminds me that I had taken yoga years ago. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. So I just went to a studio and I had moved. I had just been married. So it was like really about finding community, right? Because I wanted to be in community and I wanted to be in spaces that was mine, right? Like I was a new wife. And so I didn't want to lose my identity. And I was miles away from my entire family. I mean, I moved 40 miles away, which on the surface is not a lot, but it is a lot, right? Like you're just not running down there for a quick second. You know what I mean?
Right.
So once I went back in 2010, I never went back. I never got off the mat in practice and clarity, and so how I got here was just I kept practicing. I stayed on the mat and I just started to shed. In hindsight, it was literally a shedding of layers, like everything that I identified with, my great job, my 6-figure job, my personal parking spot, gone, my little juicy bank account, gone, my man, gone, like wow. And literally it was just like, oh, bitch. Oh, you want to be a leader? Oh, bitch. Well, what's important to you? Right. And how I got here was I realized during COVID, because I had nowhere to go. And there was a moment where, this is going to sound weird, but there was a moment during COVID, right around March, the end of March, that I started to settle. In that I realized that even though there was this huge international moment, and at the moment we're still in the moment, I didn't have anything to worry about. It was interesting because I knew that the things that I had to worry about, they all stopped.
Wow.
So there was this moment where I wasn't worried about a bill. my son was like, there was nothing to worry about. There was this larger thing happening, and there was nothing to worry about. And then I started to create, and I started to process, and I started to see why all the sheaths, if you will, right? Like being a yogi, right? Like I was just stripped, and then I saw the beauty, and I was like, oh, this what happened. This why did like literally we had nowhere to go. And
literally.
And even though there was like, oh my God, I was already sick at that point too. So then there was this moment where like, all right, it was rough. I'm here.
Right.
It was just a really interesting initiation. Really interesting initiation.
Thank you so much for sharing that and being authentic.
That answers your question.
No, it does. It really does, because again, there's just this authenticity to you that I value so much. And as much as we were, all going through during the pandemic, I'm so appreciative of, first of all, having you, period, y'all, because she brought me through, my mama through. It was a whole thing.
It was a time, wasn't it?
It was
you know, when you get that baritone in there as a Black woman, that's that underbelly shit. You know, when you
yeah. Okay. But just your transparency in the season and while it's happening. And what I appreciate, not that it was easy for you or anyone else that I know that did it, but what I appreciate are being able to see anybody reflect and pull back when necessary, and explore, and take time to discover that. So I honor that about you. Truly, and I appreciate you sharing that now. Okay, so I'm gonna just spit out some stuffs, because you mentioned Dea, right? Man-Child Project, Conversations Podcast, Healing Station. You are a healer.
I am.
You are a healer. You are truly a spiritual activist, and you show up for you. You show up for the world. You show up for people. Can you speak to any of those projects or babies, I should even speak, to call them, right, that you have?
If I look back at when I had all of that anxiety, and I'm going to call it anxiety. I'm a social worker. So I'm using the clinical word on purpose, right? But really, I want to pull back and say, if I understood and overstood what all that energy was, and I had space and support to work through it and understand it,
wow,
I would know then why I had so much fire in my belly. And everything that I'm doing is because I still have that fire that some would call anxiety. But now I understand, because I was so still during COVID, that when the pressure's up, that's my body telling me to create. And when I create and I emote, and it just like the projects were just pouring out because it was always there, right? So I'm an advocate for spirituality and mental health, right? So if you need to take the Prozac, take the Prozac. You need to use a piece of pyrite,
right?
Use a fucking pyrite. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not that bitch to say that it's either or. What I understood and overstand about me is that anxiety, that energy, was how it moves through my body. And because COVID created so much space I was able to learn myself, to understand even the cyclical nature of how my body needs to create and emote.
Wow.
And so when I grounded in that, then I just started to do it, because it was like, well, what if it's not successful? You know, so when we were in team meetings, we defined what success meant by our intention, not how many likes it got, not how many people were, you know, not any of that. And in creating, we created movement. In creating, we created activism. In creating, we created awareness. In creating, we created inspiration for us in community, again, what there was.
Yeah.
And in moving.
Yeah.
And then it spiraled into, I mean, like every project that I've worked with, the manifestation of everything that they want in life is just happening because they're emoting, they're creating. Wow. So it is the Man-Child Project, where I want to showcase Black male excellence on social media platforms. It is Conversation, a podcast of two spiritual activists where we talk about spirit and love and sex and spirituality and work and parenting and motherhood. You know, it is Dea, where I teach women to move and love their curves and their body, and it's BIPOC centered, right? It is my writing. It is my private practice where I meet with clients, and I'm proud to say currently all my clients are BIPOC persons. Like, so, and they're healing themselves, and they're telling their friends that they can heal themselves. And so I don't have a large client roster, but I have a large energetic impact. And that's the work. And that's the work. So these colonizers out here have us counting followers, and, you know, that shit matters. You know, the Mahatma didn't have the internet. There were no selfies of Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, let's everybody calm down.
Yeah.
You know, Mary Magdalene wrote a gospel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So everybody needs to calm down.
Good.
And just do the fucking work.
That's so good. That's so good. You said so much. I have a large energetic impact that it's the ripple effect. And what I'm feeling even now, right? Like, because we get so caught up in this moment and don't even realize the power, you know, that this moment is going to have on later. And, you know, like, so what drives you?
What drives me? I think what drives me is I want to choose my words very clearly.
Take your time.
Knowledge.
Wow.
Knowledge drives me. Knowledge.
I can feel that from you. I can feel that from you. So I'm gonna ask for a humble brag.
You know what? I don't need to be humble, as a matter of fact.
Well, then hell, bring it, shorty.
Well, because here's the thing, right? We're all I'm divine.
Come on.
So this whole idea of needing to be humble, why are we doing that? We're all divinity. So can we
Who
just
needs
be
it?
gods? Can we just be gods? Let's just be gods.
Goddess, bring it. Okay,
so I don't need. I'm divine.
There's a period. By the way, for anybody that missed it, did you see the period showed up? Because it did. I'm divine. Period. That was it.
Period.
There it is.
Should we act like we're buffering?
I love you. So in from your perspective, what value do you feel like you bring to the Black community?
My ignorance.
Please, if you can, break that down.
I will, and it was something that happened yesterday. So last night was one of the first times. No, it was the first time that I actually went out to eat with some girlfriends. It was outside. You know, it was all protocol followed.
Yeah.
But it was so familiar because we were all having conversation. And one of my sisters, she said something. I was like, wait, boo, I don't know. And I was like, well, what about da 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 da? And she was like, wait a minute, but what about da 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 da? And there was this moment where I put took my napkin off and leaned in, and I was like, yeah, this is getting good. Go. And we just had this really beautiful, robust, loving conversation. And we landed in understanding each other. And I think it feels in my body like the choice, you know? So you have knowledge and you have ignorance. And then somewhere with that is the choice. And I bring my ignorance because it reminds me to listen.
That's good. That's so good.
Yeah.
I can just talk to you all day.
But hold on. But at the same time, I have to say that I'm probably the darkest light worker that anybody will ever meet.
What you mean?
Because I talk about the things that people don't want to talk about. I talk about sacred spaces not being sacred. I talk about my Black female body not being safe in any church that I ever went into. I talk about the ways in which that I felt marginalized and oppressed in yoga studios and practices, because in the beginning of my journey, those were all white spaces appropriating brown and Black culture, right?
Wow.
I talk about the ways I talk about the ways in which we honor our elders and ancestors to a point where it's like, okay, but they did some shit that we need to let go. And we should probably say that out loud, right? Like, I am so grateful for my elders and ancestors that are with me, but some of them made some fucked up choices.
Straight up.
You need to hear
up.
Right? So I feel like in some ways I'm the darkest light worker because, you know, we can call it shadow, we could call it depression, we could call it darkness, we could call it whatever we want to call it, but it's about choice.
Yep.
Knowledge and ignorance. Because then when we know, we can choose on purpose. And then that's when, you know, you kind of got to own it.
Choose on purpose.
Choose on purpose.
That's a t-shirt.
We got to figure out t-shirts so we can stop killing the planet. What are we going to do?
Yeah. Oh man.
We should have like we should all have like a white t-shirt. And everybody should have their own hologram, like their own.
So it can change. Yes.
Right. And that's going to happen. Like, somebody's going to pull this footage and be like, Syntyche clearly got it. So if that's true, I just want to say that I want to own my intellectual property. You cannot use my intellectual property.
Make it plain.
Yeah, make it plain. And y'all need to go ahead and give me my royalties.
Straight up, because you heard it here first.
Okay.
Choose on purpose. Reminding me to listen. You do the work. And in watching you operate in the world, and I'm so grateful for your boldness, because if I can say this, you know, some light workers our only light. There's no work because they're unable to or unwilling to, or sometimes even neglecting or ignoring the some of the conversations that you bring up. And I just in thought, and especially thinking about the Black community, and knowing and seeing some of the conversations that you've had, even about spanking and beating children and the things that we've normalized. And again, my hat goes off to you, because you're just beautiful in stepping into those spaces so boldly. But I think that's, to add on to what you said, it's the darkness in your light work is necessary, because that is where healing happens. Like in our community, we ignore and skirt around stuff so often. So thank you.
Yeah,
is what I'm really saying. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the work that you're doing. There's an open one for you. What do you feel like the Black community needs?
To figure out what they need.
Well, and then there's that. Figure out what they need.
I know what my community needs. I don't know what the fuck y'all need. You know what I mean? We're in different geographical locations, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck y'all need. I'm not there now.
That's good.
The Black community needs to figure out what the fuck it is that they need. There is no prescription. That question is so fucking colonial.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't even know what that means.
That's good. Figure it out.
Ask a friend, nigga. Like, nigga, what you need? You know what I mean?
That's good.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's good.
I have no idea. I have no soundbite for that. That was my phone, by the way. Big up. One love. That's what the Black community need. One love.
Hey. You're so beautiful. Okay, if someone says that they want to be like you.
Sorry. Girl, run. Save your motherfucking self.
Well, there goes the answers. What would you say? Look.
I would say, why? You are an expression of God. Be God's expression. Be God's expression.
That's good. That's good.
There's room and space for all of us.
There's room and space for all of us. Right there, that's I can remind myself.
Sure.
What do you want to be remembered by?
My ignorance.
I can feel that too. And open-ended, anybody at all, do you have any shout outs that you'd like to make or say anywhere?
I shout out to every human person that can hear or see or understand in any capacity the words coming out of my mouth. You're doing great. You're doing great. And that's to everybody. Because this shit is intense.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
So I want everyone who watches this, if they're able to take this in, to know that she means this. You are incredible. And I spoke about you recently. This was maybe a few weeks ago. And I was speaking to my bestie, and we were just talking about women, and again, safe spaces and things that we talk about and don't talk about. And we were talking about our cycles. And recently, maybe a month or so ago, I had like probably one of my worst cycles like ever. And we got into this conversation, but like, one of those, like, why don't we talk about this more kind of thing. And I brought you up because I was so grateful for the way that you've made room. And in for everyone, now that I'm here, in yoga teacher training, one of the weekends we were in session, I remember I had cramps, and so I overslept, and like I wasn't feeling good. And I remember like you messaged me, like you checked in, and because it wasn't normal, like like I hadn't said anything, I just overslept.
Yeah.
And when I showed up, and I remember because I was like, I had cramps, and of course you're like, why are you here? And I was like, we have class.
Kind of a fucked up question when somebody's in pain, right? Like, why are you here?
But so genuine, and it meant so much to me, right? Because it was number one, you gave me choice, right? Like you gave me option, where typically that's not one that we know that we have. Like, oh, I get to not show up. Oh wow, like,
because of not showing up, you showed up for yourself.
Yeah, like I didn't know, right? So
yeah,
it was like, right, and then the way that you showed me so much grace, and you literally like went into big sister, mama bear, mentor mode, and straight up were like, legs up the wall, get the blanket, like the whole nine, right? And to pause what you were doing, there's this beauty in showing love to the one. Like there's a class of women here that are expecting your time, and for you to pause and make sure that I'm okay. Like literally it was like, okay, but I can try. And you were like, not having it, like lay down. And it meant so much to me. I don't even have the words. So just thank you for always being that. Just, oh, okay.
So the part where the internet connects us.
I got drool. Yes.
The part where the internet connects us. And also, I was looking for it, but do you have Queen of Fools book?
No.
You need to get it, girl, because she's got some womb healing work in the first chapter that I think would really help your issues. Because she talks about the womb space and what we carry. You're first generation too, and you are definitely a guide for your family, because you've just been barreling through some generational traumas, and you are you are you know what I mean? So I bet you any kind of money, if you get when you get Queen of Fools book and you do that womb cleaning work, you'll release and then birth anew for your generation and your family. I guarantee you'll be able to heal your uterus when you do that work.
Yes, ma'am. You ain't got to tell me twice.
And then you go find a man and have some babies.
Look, y'all, because there's a whole back and forth of that. Because I've been like, if you could just tell me who he is, so that way I don't have to like look.
No,
and that's
the all right.
You're right about that.
Amen. Clean your pussy. That's what.
So
stay in your lane. Just
you're right.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. You got it. You're right. I adore you. So I have a quote.
Yes.
I'm gonna read you a quote, and just let me know if it resonates, if it means anything to you at all.
Okay.
And the quote is, "We are separate as the fingers, yet one as the hand." That finger too. Look, that one too.
I mean, that's the first thought that came to my mind. Like, I can't even. What is really wrong with me?
Everything is right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Choice. We could choose to operate this way, or we could choose to operate this way. It's just choice. So I love that. Thank you for sharing.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for the graphic.
You're welcome. Listen, I'm consistent.
Yes, that's a whole fact. Okay, rapid fire.
Okay, these always make me nervous.
All your answers are right. All of your answers are right. So whatever comes.
Okay.
Favorite book?
I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings by Maya Angelou.
Favorite food?
Anything my mother cook.
Well said.
Yeah.
A role model that you have?
Every woman in my life.
One word to describe how you're feeling?
Joyful.
Favorite quote?
God has changed. Octavia Butler.
Nice. Favorite asana?
Shavasana.
Yes.
To die a little bit every day is a beautiful thing.
Yes. And something that you're proud of?
My son. I have a whole human.
You do.
That I took care of. That's on this planet. That's a good human.
Good human.
Good human.
Nope, I'm gonna ask this first. Where can people find you? How can people contact you, follow you, find you?
I am theprotectress.com, or I am the Protectress on Instagram. Instagram is the platform I understand and use most. So that would be where to find me. And they can find their yoga studios through my I Am the Protectress website. They just need to click on studio and they can find it.
Beautiful.
Yes.
And any final words for anyone watching or who sees this?
Take it easy with yourself. You're doing great. Take it easy with yourself. You're doing great.
I love you.
I love you more.
I am.
Look, I don't love you more. I love you different. You love me this way. I love you this way.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Actually, I think you love me this way.
Hell yeah, at the pelvis.
When I was doing my makeup, I actually conjured up my Katya. I was like,
pelvis. Y'all, there's a pelvic thrust. If you're missing in your life, you're welcome. We just figured.
Yes, move that pelvic bowl. Lift.
Yes. Thank you, Goddess. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the work that you do for you and for the world. Thank you for being all of you and who you are to me and to my family. I'm honored to know you. I'm grateful to have you. And I'm blessed that you shared your time and your space with us.
Thank you for being born, my love. I love you.
And everybody, thank you guys for tuning in to For the Culture. Until next time.
To be continued.